Right, Bosh, we're back. Squeeze the Neck podcast. Today I'm up in Newcastle with my new mate, and he's been mentioned on the show many times, so grateful to get him on finally. Big Pete Irving, thanks for doing this, mate.
Nice to hear.
All right, so today this actually come under Newcastle where we're at today?
We're bang in the centre in
Yep.
Newcastle. In fact, the city centre is probably about 10 minutes walk
I
from
got
here.
you. Because clues in the name, right? Newcastle Fight Centre, so which is a mad little setup. You said you had an octagon last year, a bit of flooding issues and whatnot, but it looks pretty good to me, mate. So,
It's getting there.
as I say, you've been mentioned on the podcast by many people. Everyone always speaks very highly of you. I didn't ever expect to actually sort of get in here and meet you and do the podcast with you, but the universe has brought us together, mate. So, Big John Durant was the first one to bring you up and said what a great guy you were. So, we're here, mate. And tell us about your sort of background and how you get started in martial arts.
I think I tell a different story every time, like Wim Hof,
That's all right. Good. Start breathing for me. We go from there.
Yeah, so probably very typical story. I wasn't really into Bruce Lee and all that sort of stuff, but it just, Newcastle's, it's got its rough bits, and I was a punk rocker when I was a kid.
Was you really? Yeah.
Yeah, I had the big Mohican and everything like that.
I take it you're from Newcastle originally.
Yeah, well, I'm just from a little bit outside, but about age 15, I moved over to Elsick, Benwell, which is like the sort of like, we used to say a West End, best end.
Is that right?
And then when I moved back up from London, I kind of realised, it's a fucking shithole. There's nothing good there at all. It just rhymes. Like the West End isn't the best end at all, so I live in the East End now, so I'm a pure traitor.
Oh, Jesus Christ. It's all gone wrong, isn't it, mate? It's all gone wrong.
But it's all the same place, Newcastle place.
Is that right? Yeah.
It's not a big city.
Well, everywhere is like, obviously you mentioned London, now I'm from London, like whenever I go to any other city, I'm surprised how big it ain't, do you know what I mean? Like coming from London, like everything's a million miles away, innit? Whereas wherever I've been up north a lot recently for the podcast, like Manchester's, Liverpool, all that kind of stuff, compared to what's in my mind, they're all quite small, innit? It's all quite compact.
Yeah. So yeah, it's like Elsick was a bit of a rough place, and I brought a lot of attention to myself by the way that I looked, so I was getting into fights all the time, so I just wanted to be able to handle myself. So I just fell into the sort of the early MMA scene more or less by accident, and there was a bunch of lads there that were starting to get involved back when I was Ultimate Combat and Cage Warriors was just beginning. I think I had my debut on Cage Warriors 3.
Wow. And what sort of time frame is this, mate?
That'd be 2003, I think.
And how old are you, if you don't mind me asking on the camera?
I started pretty late.
Yeah.
I didn't get into martial arts really early enough. So when I did start, I just went all in and tried to sort of keep up with like a professional athlete schedule, but I hadn't had quite enough athletic development. And my teacher, Quez, was assisting me once. It's like, the problem isn't that you lack talent. You just started late. I thought, all right, okay, thanks. I don't lack talent. Appreciate it. But really what he was telling me was, you're not going to make it, man. You're too old. But I mean, that was it just came.
And what age were you when you started?
No, I was probably I would be about 20 years old when I started training.
So not old really, right?
Yeah, but old to be like if you come in with the ambition of being a world champion.
Yeah, as a bare bones beginner, it's quite late.
Yeah, it is late. Unless you're coming from another sport. I didn't have any sports background.
You weren't, because up Newcastle, first thing that comes to mind is football. You weren't a footballer either.
Well, that's it. If you don't like football here, well, sports is not for you.
Is that right?
That's basically the way it is.
Yeah.
No, I mean, maybe in the school system they might say, oh, well, you could play a little bit of cricket for a couple of weeks a year. You could play a little bit of basketball for a couple of weeks a year. But if you play those sports, if you want to be on the team for those sports, they pick the football team. The football team is the athletes. And so if you're not excelling, if you're not getting put onto an elite pathway by the time you're 13 years old, sports isn't for you. Forget about it. It's football or nothing. And it's just economics, because that's the only thing that's going to actually pay a living wage for anybody up here. You look at athletics now, you think, well, I mean, take like wrestling, for example, it would be relevant for. If you wrestle for Russia, like, what happens when you retire from wrestling? You win an Olympic gold for Russia, or they make you a 5-star general, give you a big office, give you a uniform. You think those guys are directing tanks in Ukraine right now? I said, no, man, they just give them a pension and an honorary role. If you win a medal for India or Pakistan, you get a cushy civil service job with a big wage and a big pension, and you sign a couple of forms and whatever. If you win an Olympic medal for the UK, Well done. Nice, you know. So that's why all of our Olympians are either, you know, the sort of the fifth child of inherited wealth. You know, like, you know, Sebastian Coe sort of types. You know, so it's a sport for the posh. You know, like, or if you're a working class lad, say you box for England or whatever, you know, and you get a medal and go like, well, good luck. There's some security jobs going in Aldi. You know. That's it. There's no future for, you know. So everybody banging on about, you know, oh, let's get jiu-jitsu into the Olympics. So why, man? Why? You know, so someone else can make the money off it. I mean, I don't love the fact that jiu-jitsu is all kind of private enterprises. I don't think it's kind of stymied the jiu-jitsu scene to some extent. So, what do you want to make an Olympic sport for? So, that sounds good. We'll all be able to apply for Sport England, so we'll get new mats. Gosh, and then what? You're like, no one's got a job out of it. You know, that's, yeah. Anyway, sorry, started ranting straight away there.
No, mate, that's what I do on this podcast. We jump about, we talk about flat earth, all sorts. One thing I've got to bring up to you while I remember, so the boys where I just was at Stealth, they said I should bring you a bottle of water, as a plastic bottle of water. Now, I don't know what they were getting at, but I'm assuming they were stitching me up, so I left it in my bag. What's that about?
Oh, I do my dinger about a few things, but plastic water bottles is one of them. Just every week, there's plastic water bottles fucking everywhere. So I banned them from the gym. Like,
I saw this, that's what reminded me of it. I saw it coming in,
Every time, you know, like I've got a sign there going like plastic water bottles banned, and then I come in and there's like a collection of plastic bottles. For fuck's sake. It was like, anyway.
What's the beef with the plastic bottles? Tell me.
Well, number one, I'm an environmentalist.
Yep.
You know, like plastic bottles or not single-use plastics are bad for the planet.
Yep.
You know, single-use plastics are not good for your health. You know, like, and also, it's me who has to pick them up. You know, like that's the main thing. To be honest, actually, fuck the planet. Like I've got to pick them out from underneath, you know, underneath the cages in the changing rooms and underneath benches, and they just get left lying around everywhere. You know, like if you bring it, take it away. You know, it's an easy rule. You know, like just leave things as you found it or as you would expect to find it.
Yep.
You know, but this is the problem, right? Everybody like, you know, like people like you can't call it a dojo now because it's like a joke. You know, and anytime like, people use words like sensei, dojo, you know, so you call it the gym.
Yep.
That's it. Well, you think like, and what people think of as a gym, you think like, you know, like a global gym, you know, like an exercise for less.
Yep.
And then just leave shit lying around. You know, like we'll do a big shit in the toilet and leave it all filthy and go, the cleaner will do it. You know, like, so, well, number one, you shouldn't do that anyway. You know, because that cleaner is a person who's working for minimum wage. You should have some respect. You know, like, you know, like shitty jobs shouldn't be minimum wage. I mean, you know, the pandemic taught us this, right? You know, like all of a sudden there are essential workers, frontline workers. You're like, but they're the people who get the shittiest jobs with the shittiest wages. So number one, even if you go for exercise for less and you're paying your monthly and whatever, you're like, leave the place nice. Don't make extra work for a cleaner who's already getting exploited. You're like, but secondly, I'm the fucking cleaner here. You're like, leave all the stuff for me to do.
So no plastic bottles, kids, leave plastic bottles at home.
So don't bring a plastic bottle on here unless you want it stuck down your throat.
There you go. Come down with plastic bottles, see what happens. Big Pete will be waiting for you. But so let's go back a step, mate. When you started off, did you go straight to MMA? You wasn't boxing or anything first?
Yeah, I was. MMA was brand new. I'd been introduced to jiu-jitsu by I couldn't get a job because I looked like I was a punk rocker, walking around with a leather jacket full of studs and rings. And
you was full blown. Yeah, okay.
Yeah. So there wasn't any jobs for me, and one guy just took a chance on me, and he ran a jiu-jitsu club. It was like a traditional style Japanese jiu-jitsu club.
Right.
So essentially the syllabus was like basically precisely the Kodokan judo syllabus, except it had self-defense elements in the setups as opposed to just sports grip fighting. And it was brilliant, it was great, and it was a fantastic foundation for me, but it didn't have a sports format. And I was really, really desperate to get involved. And this was just about the time that, people were talking on the grapevine about like, Hoist Gracie and the early UFCs and all that sort of stuff. And so like, I can't remember even who gave them to me, but I managed to get a hold of a couple of copies of like Gracie's in Action.
And these are VHS tapes,
the
right?
VHS tapes, yeah.
For the youngers that don't know VHS tapes, look them up, you'll find them.
I've talked about this before, but I kind of feel sorry for people now, that it is fantastic that so much information is accessible, right? But the mystery and the joy of discovering these things, it was incredible. You know, and these grainy VHSs, we used to tape trade them. You know, so the little group that we had together, I managed to connect with a few guys that were at John Atkins Advanced Fighting Centre, which is up in town. Which was like, John was the original guy who put together MMA package. He used to call it cross training. You know, but basically what he done was he combined sort of boxing, wrestling, jiu-jitsu. He'd been over. I think he was probably the first guy in Newcastle to go and seek out Brazilian jiu-jitsu. He travelled to the USA and sought out. I think it was Jean-Jacques Machado, one of the Machado brothers, anyway. You know, and he kind of brought it all back and compiled this package. You know, and he was part of the Jeff Thompson scene, so he used to run like the Animal Day things, which were essentially sort of like a kind of a semi-pro MMA format.
Yeah.
You know? So like, yeah, anyway, John instigated all this, and there was a little group of guys who were fighting there. There was Brian Blewett, Gavin Bradley, Peter Teox was in the mix there. I don't know if you remember Peter Teox, but he was the Cage Rage champion. He opened the show for the Anderson Silva Lee Murray fight.
Okay.
Yeah. So Pete was really a bit of a legend.
And he's a Newcastle boy, I take it.
Well, he lives in Newcastle. He studied because he came here for university and then just decided to stay.
Okay.
I think he's from Worcester, Pete. But anyway, Pete was incredible. So those guys were all trained there together, and so they used to trade tapes. And Brian Blewett used to get tapes from Lars Bessant, who was one of like the Dutch shoot fighter.
Okay.
And so we used to kind of get one each, and then we'd swap them and copy them, so they were like really grainy and worn out, you know. And there was one of Brazil Vale Tudo 6. So I'd seen the Gracies in action, stuff like that, which I thought was great. And then Brazil Vale Tudo was like, it was where like Vanderlei Silva and all those guys came from. And there was the tape that I had the fight with Pele Landi and Macaco one.
Wow.
That was amazing. It was amazing.
And he's in the ring with bare knuckles, right?
Yeah. It was bare knuckles, headbutts, proper Vale Tudo rules. And that fight with Macaco and Pele was like, wow, it was unbelievable. There's a bit in the middle of it. I don't know if I'm even remembering it right, you know, because this is like, I don't know how many years ago it was. You know. But yeah, the guys that get up in the middle of the fight and have a stare off in the middle, they stop fighting and they look at each other going, yeah, come on. I was like, oh man. It was the most macho thing I'd ever seen in my life. I thought, fuck, I want to be like those guys. That was amazing. And then I think the winner of the tournament in that was Joel de Oliveira. Tripping over the words. Joel de Oliveira was like one of the most technical luta livre fighters. You know, he was probably considered to be the best technician of the luta livre school. And then I wound up meeting Cresio de Souza, and Cresio de Souza had beaten Joel de Oliveira. There was an event called the Duel of the Titans that Carlson, I think would have been Hugo Duarte, put together to see who was the best out of Jiu-Jitsu and luta livre, and like finally set this rivalry. You know, like it's a non-event now. Like people who come into the sport now, you're going to see like luta livre guys and Jiu-Jitsu guys all training together. You know, like modern no-gi Jiu-Jitsu. You know, like looks very much like luta livre because obviously there's been so much combined influence, and inevitably you're going to come to the same conclusions anyway. Even if you hadn't had, you know, the connection with catch wrestling, as soon as you take the gi off, people are going to start reinventing catch techniques, even if they didn't know they were catch. You know, it just makes sense. You know, so anyway, it's a bit of but it was a big deal at the time. You know, like it really mattered. And Cresio was one of the fighters that went up against the luta livre fighters. You know, and obviously Joel was the most technical, and Cresio beat him in this really technical fight. You know, so I was so impressed that when I found out, oh man, Joel's that good, and you beat him, unbelievable. So yeah, anyway, I ended up getting an invitation to go and train with Cresio de Souza. You know, it was you know, Carlson black belt. So you know, that's basically where I got started at.
It's a good place to start, isn't it? Jesus Christ. Because them days, obviously, you're not as connected as we are now, but also, I would imagine, you tell me, it was easier once you'd got in. It was a bit more of a personal basis, right?
Yeah, you know, like, I was very, very close to the source, so I really got to be, like, immersed in the history of Jiu-Jitsu. You know, that I'd hear all the stories firsthand, you know, all these legendary figures. I would find out who's who, you know, and then you find out, again, there's a lot of, like, there's a lot of propaganda, there's a lot of mythology about the origins of Jiu-Jitsu, you know, and then you know, like I can't repeat some of the things that I've been told because I'm sworn to secrecy on some of these things, you know. But Yeah, they would tell me like who was really who, you know.
Yeah.
And Krezu would like have this term, kashka gross. You know, like you ever heard this term?
No.
Kashka gross. Kashka gross is like it's like hard man. You know, like, but it's got a deeper meaning. It's not just hard man. You know, like it literally translates to hard shell. You know,
Okay.
which is quite interesting because like, you know, like if you think about like the meaning of the words, you know, like something that you think like, so you're a hard man, something that's hard. Like, well, hard things are fragile, aren't they? You know what I mean? Like glass is hard, but once it breaks, it's destroyed. You know, like rock is hard, but once it's fractured, it won't stick back together. You know what I mean? But a hard shell infers that there's a soft interior that's protected by the hard shell. Anyway,
Right.
I just thought the etymology of it was interesting. It suggested like something more nuanced about the idea of being a hard man.
Yeah, there's more to it, more of like a deeper sort of something behind it.
But it was the biggest compliment. You know,
Yeah.
like to say that somebody was a kashka gross. You know, like you say like I thought like, oh man, I would love it one day like if Grez would call me a kashka gross. Because we go around and say like this guy kashka gross, and then you say, oh no, this guy's phony. You know, it's like there's a lot of people that are very famous. You know, and Grez would go, I've seen him backstage crying. Oh, I don't want to fight. I wish I wasn't here. I wish I
Oh,
was at
really?
home."
Yeah, okay.
Like who Krezu was born with, you know what I mean? Like Krezu was a favela kid, you know, like, and so that was the only way out. You know? So Krezu's dad was a black belt from Helio Gracie. And because Helio Gracie, like, he trained a lot of people, but they were like, you know, prestigious sort of people. You know, he trained like government officials, high-ranking police and military and all that sort of stuff. You know, like, but he needed some tough guys to go out on the streets and prove it. You know, so they went to the Brazilian military to get some recruits. And Krezu's father had been orphaned when he was very, very young and left out on the streets. So he'd ended up like making a living as a circus performer. Had this incredibly hard life. It was, you know, he's got an unbelievable story. But yeah, so he'd been like a gymnast in the circus, and then he'd had a chance to join. I think it was the Brazilian Navy. You know. So he ended up on the gymnastics team of the Brazilian Navy, where they would do these incredible displays. And Helio Gracie came to recruit athletes through his connections with the military. You know, and they saw Krezu's father there doing, you know, vaults and backflips, you know, and then standing in the middle of this display whilst people threw knives, you know, like live blades, you know, and the guy stood there with balls of solid rock, completely fearless, and Helio Gracie said, "Give me that guy," you know. So I think they called him Cabrito, like mountain goat, you know, because he was like small but sturdy, you know.
Yeah.
You know, and then they'd erect the ring in the town centre, and Krezu's father would stand up there and go, "Any man, any size, let's have it," you know. You know, which is like incredibly ballsy, you know. Like you think like, I mean, even now to take on anybody without any weight classes, but like the blueprint wasn't written then, you know. So the sheer cojones on the guy just to get up there and do that. Yeah. So anyway, Krezu was born into it, you know, and then so when he's about 18, he's given the black belt by his father, and then he says, "Go to Rio, find the Gracies." You know, Bar Gracie and Carlson Gracie used to share a facility. They just used to have alternate nights.
Is that right? I didn't know that.
Yeah. It was before Bar Gracie.
Yeah,
Carlinhos Gracie had one night, and then before he went off and formed that, and then Krezu just happened to arrive on Carlson's night, and Carlson said, "Right, you're my guy," you know, and recruited him. And then obviously the family dispute happens, you know. So it must have been tense in the household where you got the Carlson black belt and the Helio black belt.
Yeah.
Anyway, back to the point. I was immersed right in the history of it, and I found like the true histories from first-hand sources.
Yeah.
You know, so it was, that was just an amazing experience.
And is that the guy who gave you a black belt eventually?
No, actually, no. Like because I came back, what I'd been doing was kind of playing the visa waiver game, where I would go to Brazil for 6 months, and I would come back here, make some money, save it all up, go back, just train full time, you know. And I just I'd kind of intended to do that forever. And when I came back home, I couldn't get housed, and so I ended up homeless. And then you know, no address, no job, no income. That is, you know, you get caught in the homelessness cycle straight away, you know, and that kind of screwed me up. So I ended up stuck back here, and then luckily I managed to get saved off of the streets because I was at Sultanico gym, You know, like Sotanical Gym is just up the road there. It's like the legendary Muay Thai gym of the region. Basically, anybody who's anybody in the Newcastle area, you know, like either they were trained by Barry Norman, or they at least were there for sparring, or they fought Sotanical fighters, and it raised the level of the whole region. You know, and so I got there, and Barry says, like, you can't sleep on the street, boy. You put your pillows down here. You know, and then end of training time would come, and one of the lads would go, come sleep on my city, you know. I managed to get myself back on my feet. Barry set me up with teach some classes, you know. He said, oh, nobody knows, you know, MMA here. You can teach some MMA. Started making some money, got back on my feet, you know. And yeah, so it's just, you know. But if I hadn't had Barry and I hadn't had the Sotanical Gym, that would have been me. I don't know where I would be now.
That's a mad story, that one, isn't it? Yeah, Jesus Christ. So who eventually gave you your black belt? I know we're jumping about a bit, but
Leo Nagal.
Oh, okay.
So I ended up
down in London.
Yeah. So I finally found, after a long time where there was no MMA coaches to speak of, Alan Orr became my MMA coach. I managed to find him via a friend, and he was the guy who sort of put all the pieces together, you know, like, because obviously I was training wrestling with the Iranian guys, I was training Muay Thai there at Sotanico, you know, like, it just, yeah, but it was all piecemeal, you know. And then Alan was one of the first guys who had that kind of vision where he could connect all the dots, you know. And so when I was struggling to make a living up here. I was having to work on the door, so I was only getting a few hours sleep because I'd work all night and then get up, and it just wasn't really for me. And Alan said, you can come to London, you know, like, I'll help you get set up in London. And Leo Nagal's here, so I wasn't able to get back over to Brazil. So I stayed there in London for a little while and got to train with Leo. You know, and Leo's style was that from that Carlson style. I mean, obviously Leo started with Carlson. Have you interviewed Leo?
I've spoke to him about getting on it. We haven't set up a time yet, but hopefully we get him on it. Yeah.
Leo's stories just. Yeah.
I've heard. Yeah, a few people said. Yeah, he's.
You know, people like going about like jiu-jitsu and stuff. And they go, oh, he's crazy.
Yeah, I know. I've got some friends that are black belts under him and stuff. You know, so yeah.
But everybody says that. Was, he coach, he's crazy. Well, Leo is crazy.
He's real crazy.
He's the real thing. Honestly, like, Leo's crack just absolutely brilliant.
Great
the stories you could tell. But anyway, yeah. So I was promoted by Leo, because Leo had a real kind of prioritised the old school, the Valley Tour kind of stuff. You know, so like the thing when I got my black belt from Leo, I kind of panicked, you know, because like I was kind of comfortable, like as a purple belt, I felt real good, you know, like, because I was a shit white belt and I was a shit blue belt. I never won anything. Like, I got trounced. Like, I just, there was that many times that I wanted to quit. I didn't win anything at blue belt. I went to the Mundials, I went to the Copa de Brazil. The tournaments were too big for me. You know, like, I wasn't really good enough for that level of tournament. Even as a blue belt, and I was getting trounced. And when I actually won the purple belt, then I just started to win. And I really found my feet. I felt very comfortable as a purple belt. So I try to reassure people now. When this, like, when they're maybe not having the best time in competition and they're not really wanting to compete or whatever. It doesn't, white and blue belt, and I'm not taking, if anybody's like a blue belt and they're really proud of themselves because they've won a British championship or a European championship or a world championship even, that's something to be very, very proud of. So I'm not trying to deride that, I wouldn't, but it doesn't actually matter. I think one of the important things is what I keep, trying to encourage the guys to compete a lot when they are white and blue belts, so, because you've got the freedom to fail. Do you know what I mean? Once you're a purple belt, it gets a little bit less, and when you're a brown or black belt, you don't have the same level of freedom to fail. Like, there is a lot of pressure on you.
Because it matters more now, as in...
Your reputation is staked on it. You know what I mean? Well, like this, in the reputation of your school, the reputation, like, your history, like you've got a responsibility, to the lineage. Again, it's getting less popular to talk about now. I think it's misunderstood, like the importance of lineage and history. But as a white and a blue belt, it don't matter. Like, if I stank the house down as a blue belt, didn't reflect on Carlson Gracie. The memory of Carlson Gracie was, the quality of Grezio's training or Leo's training wasn't diminished by the fact that I was a shit blue belt. It didn't matter. You got the freedom. That's a beautiful thing about it. That because it is an artistic pursuit. And you think about any a writer, a musician. The first efforts at writing a song or writing a short story, they stank. Of course they did. How many shit poems did Wordsworth write? There would have been tons. You just never see them. But I think people feel like, fighting is such a personal thing that if you're not immediately good at it, then it's a problem. It's not for me. I'm not good. But it's just a learned skill, like any other skill. Like nobody's good at anything the first time.
No.
That's why I like people to compete a lot there and get comfortable with competing. Because you're allowed to lose as a white belt and a blue belt. Nobody cares. When I say that, nobody cares. Like if one of my blue belts is unsuccessful, I'm sad for them. If one of my blue belts is very successful, I'm very happy for them. But it doesn't really reflect on my school and my teaching. It's just, it's just a period of development. Once people start to become brown belt, black belt, that's when the results are telling about the quality of the academy. So it's very nice for people, we have like league tables and stuff like that. Say, this school won the most medals, okay, that could give you an inkling about the quality of the school, right? But how many of those medals were kids? How many of those medals were white belts and blue belts? So it doesn't really tell you anything about the quality of the school, to be honest. You think who's the best coach? Like Danaher would be considered one of the best coaches in the world. Who else would you think of? The Daisy Fresh guys, Perigo.
Yeah.
If you give me 10 brand new white belts who never trained before, and you give Danaher 10 white belts who've never trained before, and say, okay, right, you've got 3 months, and then we're going to have a competition. I don't know who's going to win. No. Who's going to win? The ones who came in with the most athletic talent. You got lucky, and 5 of those guys had played, elite level rugby, or they were CrossFit crazy, or whatever it is. Or just give me the guy who shows up every day, twice a day, or the guy who doesn't. That's the guy who's going to win that competition. So, okay, right, give me 10 black belts and give Danaher 10 black belts and see who's going to win under ADCC rules, IBJJF. Danaher's going to win, isn't he?
Yeah.
The guy. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, of course.
But that, it doesn't really tell early on. You can't tell a lot about the quality of a school based on their white belts and blue belts. It's the talent that came through the door, how regular those guys train or whatever. When you can tell the quality of a school and tell the quality of a teacher, it's the purples, browns, and black belts that they produced. That's where the quality really shows out. Because you can, I'm not saying you can just show any old shit, but to be honest, I could be really lazy. I'll just buy a subscription to Marcelo Garcia online, take everybody else's monthly, pocket that, and then I'm going to come in, and I know somebody who did this actually. Because one of my friends came to me and he was fucking raging when he found out, because he subscribed to Marcelo Garcia online, and somebody had been doing But I could do this, right? And the white and blue belts would be just the same as if I actually came in with my method, where I'm passionate about everything that I teach. I try to teach things that are, not necessarily original, but that I've had my own personal discoveries about, things I've made my own realizations that are not original in the sense that nobody else in the world knows this, but they're original in the sense that I came to these conclusions through my own trial and error critically, But yeah, I could just be lazy and just say, okay, I'll stop the class at the same point Marcelo did, teach you the same thing, everybody's going to be the same. Do you know what I mean? But it shows later on, so it takes a lot of years for someone to show their quality. And you get this too with in any field actually, like a coach is in some way equivalent to the director of a movie. You remember Orson Welles said this. I saw an interview with Orson Welles and he was going on about directing being overrated. And he said these people have whole careers, lauded award-winning directors. So they're terrible. They don't know what they're doing. This can happen. If you give me an amazing script, a big budget, and loads of top actors, I could direct a film and people might think I was a great director. I don't know nothing about it. Get the same thing. Guys who just they've got a great facility, a lot of talent walks through the door. I could just go and have a look on YouTube and teach you something that I learned today, and everybody would think it was great, and they would never find out. Because all the athletes were great, But it's what you can do with people who are not talented, Now, what you can do with people who are not dedicated, it doesn't matter how much athletic ability you've got. You could be the greatest coach in the world, have the best athlete in the world, but if they're not dedicated, then you can't do nothing. But good coaching is when you've got somebody who or good coaching gets proved when you've got somebody who's not athletically talented, and you can educate them into success. Yeah. Rambled off there.
I forgot the question, but I was listening.
What was the original question?
I've forgotten myself, mate. But we was talking about your black belt under Leo Nagel.
Oh yeah. I said when I got the black belt. Yeah. I felt very, very insecure for a long time.
As in what? You didn't feel like you was ready, or
I didn't feel like a black belt. I didn't feel like I was worth it at all. Like I was saying, I felt comfortable as a purple belt, and I felt okay as a brown belt. I felt like I could cut it, but I didn't feel the pressure of wearing the black belt, And then when I got the black belt, it was almost crushing. I just thought because I hadn't competed as a brown belt, that's what killed me. Like I'd earned my stripes as a blue belt into a purple belt. I'd had some success as a purple belt, and then because I'd been fighting MMA, it was either, do you want to get paid for an MMA fight, or do you want to pay to fight in a gi tournament? Well, I need the money.
No brainer.
Yeah. I got to live. I got to eat. That was my job, and I had more passion for fighting MMA than I did. I love jiu-jitsu. I adore it. But it's my least favorite competition format.
Really?
I mean, like K1 style kickboxing was my absolute favorite. That was just that. I just buzzed off that. I loved fighting K1 style. I loved fighting MMA. Sometimes it could be more frustrating and more demanding. In some respects. But jiu-jitsu fighting, I don't really enjoy fighting jiu-jitsu any more than I enjoy coming to the gym and rolling. I feel like pretty much the same amount of satisfaction. So I think why am I going to go and pay when I can just come here and train with my friends? And I feel kind of the same about it. I get the same in jiu-jitsu tournaments as well. If I come to the gym, I can come for an hour, and I can roll the entire time with 3 or 4 or 5 different excellent guys that are really happy. Or I can go there for a whole day, wait around, warm up, one match, cool down, maybe get one more match, maybe not. Maybe the guy get a walkover. It's not my favourite format of competition.
I think there's an issue with it. I agree with that. There's an issue with jiu-jitsu tournaments of the way they're, and it's hard because when you turn up, yourself, you turn up at a jiu-jitsu tournament, there's a million people in the room, and there's all different categories going on. It's hard to run, but when I've boxed before, so you turn up, when your fight is, right? Yeah. I'm on then. I'm bout number 7, whatever. I'm ready to. Do you know what I'm saying? Whereas with this, there's a lot sitting around. I can relate.
I think when you've boxed or you've done MMA or whatever, and it's that thing, it's all eyes on you. Mm-hmm. You're in the ring, you're elevated, the lights are on you, they call out your name. It's just, and it's really exciting, and it's really thrilling. And then when you go to do a jiu-jitsu tournament, then it can just sort of feel like, this just kind of feels like training,
Yeah.
And it's a very dangerous thing because you see a lot of MMA fighters and stuff like that who can be very, very talented grapplers, and they really underperform on these things because they're like, well, this isn't really a fight, is it? Because I'm not getting punched. It's not really a fight. And then there's that other guy who's trained his ass off, and for him, this is the biggest fight of his life. Yeah. Especially if you've got a name in a sport like MMA, that guy's going, this is my chance. I'm going to take his name. Mm. And then you got that MMA fighter there just going, well, this is just a bit of training, and they underperform. It happens quite a lot. So anyway, I'm getting off the point was right.
This is what we do here, man. Trust me, I go off on 6 different subjects at a time, mate. So you're good.
So there's the ADHD mind just going. So I felt very comfortable and confident to call myself a purple belt. I was okay as a brown belt, and then when I got the black belt, it was crushing. I didn't feel ready for it.
Was this straight away? Like when he's putting your black belt on, was you like, ooh?
I didn't think I was going to get it. I'd been training MMA. I hadn't competed in jiu-jitsu, so I didn't feel like I'd solidified the brown belt.
How long was your brown belt? Do you remember?
It would have been 2. It would have been the classic 2 years.
Classic, yeah.
I've always kind of obeyed that tradition. Tradition's not fixed, but I think this fast track promotion should be reserved for the special cases. The supreme talents, the people who are training, training a lot, and you want to get them into the money divisions quick, and they should be there as well, there's no point having you see, who was it recently, a couple of real standouts from they've been D1 wrestlers and stuff like that, and then they're rocking up to IBJJF no-gi events, winning everything as a purple belt, and going, these guys can fight black belts.
Yeah.
Put them in the black belt.
Yeah.
It's a complexity of what the belt actually means. Mm-hmm. But then I think eventually, like now I do feel secure wearing the black belt. But I know, like, I've trained with world champions who are like, I can't touch them. They're like, I know I'm too old. But then I'm thinking that my friend Ellie Bryce came over. Ellie's like, he's ranked number 1 IBJJF. Like, and I used to be able, when he was here as a purple belt, we could train. He would get the better of me, but I could put up a fight. I could give him some training. He came as a black belt. I wasn't even training for him. Like, it was just another class. I couldn't do anything. It just felt like I knew nothing. Like, and I think, okay, but why can I still put on my black belt and feel secure as a black belt? Because I'm a black belt teacher. Well, like, I still have enough confidence that, like, okay, what I'm doing here, I might not be the greatest in the world. I might not be able, I couldn't win a world championship, but I can give somebody first class instruction that I'm gonna, when they're a white belt or a blue belt, I'm gonna lay the foundations that they can go on and become a quality black belt. They're not gonna get stuck halfway and then have to go back, and fix the foundations while they're trying to build another story on the house. And then once somebody gets to that level, I can keep on giving them little pieces of information that are going to keep building the game and so on. So this is the problem with the black belt, that it's an athletic category, and it's a kind of a teaching credential too. I know, like, it's less and less so now, but like for a long time in Britain, we had like people who were like opening academies at purple belts and even blue belts and stuff like that, and a lot of them did really, really well. Like, I'm not criticizing, it was necessary at the time, but traditionally in Brazil, I never started teaching jiu-jitsu in the gi until I was given the black belt, because I was always inculcated into the tradition that a black belt was the teaching grade. You could be an assistant coach, but you don't teach until you're a black belt. There's a lot of people out there that might be like, they started teaching as purple belts or brown belts or whatever, and they go, hey, hang on, I ran a great academy and I'd give a really good service. No, I'm sure you did. I'm just saying that the tradition was that it's a black belt's job, and there's some compelling reasons for that, and that was, I just stuck with the tradition. So it is both things, but if you take it as the competition category, like, if you say like, hey, this guy used to be a D1 wrestler, this guy used to be a pro boxer, you don't expect him to spar the current champ. You don't expect him to be able to take down and pin the current D1 guy. Like, he's a former D1 wrestler. Like, that's fine. He's retired. Like, nobody expects a Premiership footballer. Like, nobody expects Alan Shearer to still be able to go out there and play in the Premiership. You just say, no, he was great, but he's retired. Like, you can't retire in jiu-jitsu. You can retire from competition, but it's like, now this guy's backed out. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's not seen the same way. And so like, and there are people who like, they deserve their black belt, but they couldn't kick the ass of a guy who's a quality competitor as a purple belt or whatever. So it causes all this controversy. Like, in some ways, I hate the belt system. Like, and I dislike it because it's on me to be the one to award it.
Right.
Like, I wish I didn't have that responsibility sometimes, because it's such a complex system. But yeah, it's the one that we've got, and I can't see it changing anytime soon. But it doesn't mean that we should disrespect the history of it. And it doesn't mean that you shouldn't respect the belt.
Yeah.
You remember Band of Brothers? Where like he refuses to salute. Like, and Captain Winters corrects him. He says, "You salute the rank, not the man." So you should still salute the rank.
I agree. Because you got to get the balance right. I think, right. We've got to adapt. And we've got to move on to the modern era. But at the same time, you've got to respect tradition. That's where it came from, and it's important. I think.
But I think the reason why I didn't feel comfortable when I got the belt, like, it was, even if I'd won the world a brown belt or whatever, I still feel like what it really was when I first went to Brazil and I met Grezio, and I lived with one of his black belts called Andre, and I held him in such high esteem, like a demigod, and I held them in such high esteem, because they had such amazing abilities that just seemed on the borderline of supernatural to me. And I thought, like, if I had their abilities, like, all those insecurities that I've got to all go away. Imagine if the way I felt about them, if that was me, I feel fantastic. I feel like everything was good in life. And then obviously I got all the way there, and somebody put the piece of fabric on me. I was like, but I still have all those same insecurities. I don't feel about myself the way I felt about them. you know, and I don't think other people are going to look at me the way that I looked at them, you know. And I think like it took me a long time to sort of realize that. That was just me projecting. Do you know what I mean? It was just me imagining, so like, oh man, this guy's such an ass kicker. Of course, everything is perfect. He must be some sort of like spiritual guru or what, you know, like must have this, you know, all those mad martial arts notions of inner peace and all that sort of stuff. It's not, you're just a man. Just a man who is an expert in his profession. And that's it.
And the reality is he probably feels the exact same as you do about that, right?
I wonder, maybe not, you know?
Yeah.
But I remember one time, like, my teacher Creswell was over here. I feel like, and like, if I don't get like a little bit of inspiration, like a little bit of a eureka moment where I realize something new about a technique, or, you know, I feel like, you know, because like the main thing that makes me progress now is I'm coaching Harry and George Hardwick, I'm coaching their jiu-jitsu, but I don't get them day in, day out, you know, so I feel like when they come to me, like, I want to make sure that like the training is really good, you know, so like, if I haven't got something, like some new revelation, it doesn't have to be like a crazy new technique, but just some new way to explain something or something that I've realized. Like if a couple of weeks go by and I haven't got anything new, I kind of feel like a little bit depressed, you know, like it's something, you know, like, yeah, it's a creative pursuit, right? You know, so the same way that people talk about writer's block, like if I've got writer's block or whatever the equivalent would be for jiu-jitsu, like I get really down, you know, I find it, like I need to keep on making those breakthroughs to keep me feeling right. I said to Chris, some days I come in the gym and, you know, like I give a great class and I feel great about it. I feel like, yeah, I really communicated something there. Everybody got better. And then I'll try and I'll do the exact same class again with another group, and it just doesn't land, you know, like, and I can't figure out why, you know, like their abilities weren't better. I explained it exactly the same way and the vibe wasn't there. And some days I'll just come in and just feel like, I just don't know anything. I've been doing this for like 25 years and I know nothing. I don't understand anything. I don't get it. You know? And Chris was like, he's been doing it for 50 years, you know, and he goes, yeah, me too. Yeah.
Yeah.
I've those days as well. Like, just, but you know, the way he said it wasn't like, oh, it's okay, me too. He's just like, yeah, me too.
Yeah.
That's
of course,
that's what we all get. You know,
yeah,
like, that's normal.
But it's interesting you say that because, like, well, I can relate. Like when I started jiu-jitsu, you look at a black belt as like a fucking like Jesus Christ, that guy's not even human. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But then I think you start to realize when you get even like a blue belt level and you sort of look at the new beginners coming in, it starts to click a little bit, doesn't it? Because you're sort of where the high or the more experienced guys in class were that you looked up to when you started. And it's like, you kind of see it from both visions. But for me, it's always a weird thing because I can relate to that entirely, that when you go through the belts, sometimes you look at it and you go like, fuck, am I really at that belt already? You know what I mean? It's like one of them situations where it's like, when I looked at, I'm a brown belt now, when I looked at brown belt when I started, that was like, fuck.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
That's, I think, you know, maybe that was partly a symptom of it being sort of kind of mysterious.
Yeah.
You know, and that was, you know, that was a deliberate part of the marketing too, you know, that, you know, but martial arts has that element too, you know, where it does seem borderline magical, you know, and it is kind of mysterious, and the power that somebody can exert, you know, like with something that you can't comprehend, you know, like it feels like, because a lot of it is like, it's not magic in the supernatural sense, but a lot of it is magic in the sort of the sleight of hand of a performer. You know, like that there was something going on that you just didn't see. You know,
Yeah.
and so you see the card trick from here, and you didn't see it fall down my sleeve. You know, like, that is actually an amazing skill. You know, like it's not supernatural. You know, like, but it is that kind of magic. But now, like, you know, because of the advent of YouTube, the way people teach and the way they're incentivized not to keep secrets, but to keep on giving them out basically for free. It's like we've seen the Penn and Teller show. Do you know what I mean? They've done the magic trick, you know, like with the bottom of the stage revealed, so you can see how, you know, you know what I mean? It's,
of course, yeah.
You know,
that's
so
exactly it, yeah.
Again, you know, like, which is again another kind of like Penn and Teller, super skillful, that they can still make it entertaining whilst revealing the secret. You know, like it's very clever. You know, but because we're in that stage now, then there's a temptation now that people want to tear down their old idols. You know, like you got the Keenan Cornelius types going, Hickson Gracie, he'd just be like a purple belt today, purple belt world champion today would beat the black belt world champions of yesterday. And, well, okay, to some extent, it's exaggerated how different things are. You know, like people are doing things better.
Yeah.
Of course they should be, because those guys laid a solid foundation. You know what I mean? Standing on the shoulders of giants. So why do you want to tear those people down? Why do you want to disrespect them?
Yeah.
You know, to build yourself up, it's very short-sighted. You're like, because you're going to be the old guy in a few years' time.
Yeah.
You don't want people to venerate you. You know, you want people to say you're a piece of shit.
Yeah.
You know, you know? So again, you know, like you kind of, you know, they're cutting off the branch they're sitting on.
Yeah.
But again, also like there's a lot of these guys going, it's so much better now. Oh, they were full-time athletes. Oh, those guys didn't know anything. Oh, those mugs. And like, well, not you, Billy Bluebell from Benwell. Like,
Yeah.
like Amaury Batechi, he's a pensioner, and he'd tear you a new arsehole with one hand tied behind his back.
Yeah.
So maybe you should shut your mouth, you know, and leave it to Keenan Cornelius. You know. Anyway. But
No, I agree. I just think on a forget the skill level of it. Like it's tremendously disrespectful, isn't it, to talk about people that have been so instrumental in the sport, because without people like that, it wouldn't even be here. So you wouldn't be doing it. Billy Blue Belt from wherever you said.
I don't know why. I don't know why people have got this urge to like, you know, kill the old lion. It's like, well, you know, okay, I kind of get it. You know, there's a lot of talk about, you know, cults and stuff like that. They say, oh, jiu-jitsu is a cult. You know, because people did use that veneration of the masters. You know, a lot of people have done a lot of terrible things. You know, like by using those mechanisms. You know, but I had a friend who came and he said, oh, so and so. It's not. I won't name names. So, he told me I would never call a grown man sensei. You know, that's absurd. And he said, that really resonated with me. And I would never call a grown man sensei now either. I thought, well, I knew he was a sex abuser as well. Right? You know, but he just projected this like, I'm so egalitarian. I'm kind of spiritual thing. I know what that guy did. You know, like, but he just played it the other way. He said, all those guys are abusers. All those guys who, you know, want you to call them sensei. They're just trying to take your money off them. So, well, if some people, there's a lot of ways to, you know, use different kinds of subterfuge, you know, and if people are exploiters and abusers, then they are. But like, you look at cults, you think like, well, you know, you see these articles like from BJJE and stuff like that saying, here's a checklist of things, here's the red flags to see if you're in a cult. You know what? Well, not really. Like, and don't get me wrong, I'm not saying like, we shouldn't identify people who are doing cult behaviors. I just think like, you picked the wrong ones though. Like these things, none of the things on these little checklists are actually safeguarding anyone from abuse, you know, financial or sexual or whatever. You're like, none of those things are. You're like, they're just checklists of things that irked you as an individual, you're like, about, because you didn't really like getting told what to do. You're like, it's like, you know, I see these people, I'm a paying customer, nobody tells me what to do. I think, do they not? Because I reckon you went to work all day and your boss told you what to do.
Yeah.
You know, and then you got home and your missus told you what to do. And then you got in your car and a policeman told you what to do. And then you got through the door here and you were like, I'm the paying customer now. I want to treat the sensei as my employee. You don't tell me what to do. You work for me. I said, no, you got it. The money might go this way, you know, but you got it wrong. That's not how it works. You think, and I can never understand it, you know, because I think like the reason why I chose I didn't go to the gym that was closest to my door. You know, like, so when I went to Sortanical Gym, you know, like, I used to run across town. You know, like, and then when I blew my knee out, do you know what I did? I didn't go to another gym. You know, like, I moved house so I could walk there. You know, like, I went to the gym that I thought was the best gym. You know, I moved to Brazil. I moved to London to train with these specific people. You know, like they were like, because they were the person that I thought was the best. Because I wanted them to tell me what to do. Because I knew they knew things that I didn't know. Like, if I went to the gym, you know, and I was paying my money and nobody told me what to do, well, what'd I pay for?
Yeah.
I'll just get my friends together, we get some mats, and we just do what we want. You're like, because if that's what people want, then fine, do it. And nobody's stopping you. Go to a sports centre, open your own gym. If you want to handle all of the shit of dealing with landlords and councils and all that sort of stuff, fine. Like, but the problem is not that you're getting told what to do. The problem is that you don't like it. So either that's you, or you've got the wrong coach. You know what I mean? The same thing, you know, like people like, Bar Gracie's a cult. Everyone says Bar Gracie's a cult. Because you've got mandatory uniforms. They make you wear a uniform. So, well, the reason why I don't have mandatory uniforms is because I can't handle the admin of getting stock in and all that sort of stuff, you know. Like, but I would, you know, like, think like imagine if you went to play on a sports team, or like a football team, and they say, okay, well, there's your strip. You go, no, I've got my Milan one. I like this. That's my favourite. So you say, Yeah. So I've got my Milan shirt on. He's like, well, you're not playing for Milan, you're playing for us. You're like, yeah, but I like this. These guys, there must be a cult trying to make me wear the uniform. You're like, hey man, you're like, Bar Gracie looks like a sports team. So now if your objection is, I think that the product is not of high quality, or it costs more for the same quality as another commercial alternative, it's okay, right, you've got a quality complaint. But if the complaint is, I don't want to wear the strip of my team. So well, your problem is your relationship with your team. And so like when I fought for Satanical Gym, like you didn't have to wear the uniform. You got to wear the uniform if you were good enough. You know what I mean?
You earned
like,
it, sort of thing.
Yeah. So when I remember I got my first pair of black and white shorts. You know, like because they're like is the same as the strip of the Newcastle United. We were black and white shorts. You know, and Barry gave me a pair of black and white shorts. You know, with Crew Barry Norman Satanical. You know, I felt like I made it, you know. And so where like a lot of lads from Newcastle, they would want to play at St James's Park, you know, like, and I got to fight at the Fed Breweries. You know, it's not a glamorous thing, but for me at the time, you know, like fighting on the Fed Breweries, trained by Barry Norman, getting to fight next to Peter Teox and Craig Joes, you know, that would be like another Newcastle lad getting to play at St James's Park, you know, coached by, you know, managed by Bobby Robson, you know, like. Playing next to Alan Shearer and Peter Beardsley. Yeah. You know, like, that was the way it felt to me, the pride that I had when I got those shorts. And I think like, and then if you go like, I want to wear my Shoyoroll gi, I want to wear my tatami gi, I don't want to buy from the academy. So, well, is the guy who owns tatami, is he going to come on a Sunday and corner you? You know, is he going to give up your Saturday night to travel somewhere and be in your corner when you're fighting there? I said, no. What? So the problem is not like the mandatory uniform. Like, it must be how you feel about the gym. Like, so if you don't have that pride, I feel sorry for you, man. When I used to fight for Semtex Gym, so man, the first time I wore the Semtex shorts, I felt like my opponent's gonna look at this. You're gonna see Semtex on my shoulder, and he's gonna go, man, that guy's trained by Kieran Kettle and Steve Gladstone. So man, that guy's sparring with Charlie Peters and Jake Bostwick and Jason Young and Luke Whelan, damn, he's training with them. What can I do against this guy? I felt like so proud that I was wearing those, and I think like, you know, when I see people complaining about it, I think like, do you know, I just feel sorry for you, you know, like, because that meant so much for me, you know, to represent those names.
Yep.
Anyway.
But I can hear your alarm going off, mate, so we've got to wrap it up.
I
could listen to you all day, mate. Maybe we'll get another one on, because I love it up here, and I'll definitely be coming back to the north.
I'm so sorry I had to cut it.
No, of course not, mate. I appreciate you. Before I let you go, one question I always ask, I'm assuming I'll know the answer because of where we are anyway. I always ask people what football team they support.
Oh, I hate football.
Chelsea's the right answer. Very good. Top man. Thanks a lot, mate. I always finish with the fists up like this. Squeeze the neck. Boom!